the difference between describing and explain. Describing for me has a neutral tone to it. You're simply trying to be factual, and you may be describing events, places, people, and so on. But if you're explaining, then there seems to be a rationale, a reason. Why are you explaining? Somebody's asked you for an explanation, or for the cause of a certain effect, for why things are the way they are, and you take that, and from that you would provide an explanation. So why, for example, do we need to eat plenty of dairy foods? Or, well, because they supply us with calcium. Okay, why are bones weak? Why don't they get formed? Why are teeth rotten? Well, because the owner of those teeth hasn't been eating the calcium. This is my explanation. And if a learner asks me a question along those lines, I assume he or she is familiar with the physical status, but doesn't understand a process or a rationale for something, a cause-effect perhaps.
And then I might describe a rock, and the learners look at the rocks and decide which rock it is. But I'd provide a written model as well, so that they can adapt it for describing or defining different rocks that they might look at. For explanations, Paul mentioned about building on word, text, sentence level. They will need more support. It's much more challenging to explain, for example, a rock cycle than to define or describe a rock. So they may need a language frame, or they may need a diagram visual organizer to help them glue their thoughts together.
I have introduced a lot of materials, like different kinds of boards, like videos, or a lot of pictures, or a lot of copies and graphs and so on, to help myself in the teaching.
I'm very fond of giving examples, whether I'm describing, explaining, almost whatever I'm doing, but that's perhaps my own particular learning style. But I believe giving examples and then extrapolating from them, helping the learners to see what they present, what patterns they may illustrate, helps the learners to work things out for themselves. For example, when I'm trying to describe cyclical events in geography or in science, then I would take a simple example like the water cycle or the seasons or something like that, just to show how in nature these cyclical events go on in many different places in many different ways. So that's why I think, and students would extract from those examples the basic principles. These are patterns which repeat and repeat and so on.